Congressman Jolly, 5 days to go. Trump is in a reliably blue state again. What do you make of these decisions?
You know, for the most part, I think all politics are national now. So in some ways, it doesn't matter where you go as long as your speech is being covered. But I don't understand why you go to a blue state unless it's just pure hubris or trolling the vice president, which is kind of what Republicans like to do today with their politics, is just kind of troll. Look, Donald Trump is wasting a day. I mean, it's clear he's wasting a day, because even if all politics are national, he could be giving this speech in Pennsylvania or a state that might actually matter. But look, Donald Trump's a historically bad candidate. I know it's odd to think of him as that as a former president. He is a historically bad candidate this cycle, and today affirms that.
He certainly is unconventional, for sure. Juanita, he was cosplaying for the second time this cycle, wearing that orange worker vest we showed in the video. He was driving around in a garbage truck at an event yesterday, trying to highlight Biden's recent garbage comments. But I wonder if it could backfire and risk reminding everyone of the racist joke related to garbage in Puerto Rico at his rally. Plus, he's said some other things like this lately.
The most corrupt, horrible people. These are horrible people. Oops, we should get along with everybody. They're horrible people. These are sick people, but we're not going to let this happen any longer. We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to. We're like a garbage can.
We got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
So, Juanita, what's your take on this garbage truck stunt and the potential impact with undecided voters?
Look, Anna, the only other thing I'll add to that montage you just aired is enemies within applying to people who don't vote for him or disagree with him, because that is the frame and context in which his entire campaign has been run. So when he's in a costume, yet again, they've lost the plot, and they are behaving as though voters won't remember everything he said up until that point. So I don't think it's going to have a broad impact. I don't think there are any disaffected Democrats that his campaign is pointing to that are going to latch onto these statements. If anything, it's just going to continue to turn people off from his campaign. The other thing his campaign said about the reason why they're going to these non-battleground states is because they've built a diverse coalition. But Anna, I have to question what they mean by diverse when their campaign is built on sexism, racism, xenophobia, anti-women legislation, and anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. So I have no idea what they mean. It's really and truly giving delusion, and that's why they're resorting to these stunts, which only appeal to the base of supporters he has not expanded in this entire race.
Congressman Jolly, Vice President Harris has this new Spanish language ad today that's targeting Puerto Rican voters in battleground states following all the backlash over that racist joke at Trump's rally. So many controversies have come and gone throughout this campaign and really throughout the duration of Trump's political career. Is it smart for the Harris campaign, do you think, to try and amplify this specific issue even after that truck stunt?
I think micro-targeting voters that are persuaded by the garbage comment that we heard at the rally is very important. And so I think you're seeing Vice President Harris do this with precision. Look, I think this entire race from start to finish is an adjudication of Donald Trump. Yes, many people are passionate about issues, certainly reproductive freedom. But Donald Trump almost is the incumbent in this race. This is an adjudication of Trumpism, of the vileness of it, of the anger, of the division, of the misogyny, all of those things that we often talk about. And I think why Vice President Harris is on message targeting Donald Trump is because the last available voters, persuadable voters, are either soft Republicans or independents who performed as Republicans in the past. Otherwise, every voter is just a turnout voter. But those who have yet to make up their mind are the voters who say, I just can't vote for Donald Trump. I know that. But can I vote for Vice President Harris? It's the closing argument she's making.
I want to highlight something that Democrats are pouncing on, some new Trump comments about women.
So why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not.
Whether they like it or not, Juanita, is that a winning message?
Anna, all that brought to mind was the reality that Donald Trump is someone who was found liable of sexual assault. He is also someone who appointed 3 Supreme Court justices to take away Roe v. Wade, which was the law of the land for decades. The reality is that Donald Trump is the threat to women. And I think this is smart for the Harris campaign to emphasize, because not only do they have the advantage when it comes to the gender gap with 12 to 15 points more support from women, but they have Trump's words and records to amplify. And I fully expect them to continue to do that in the coming days and months. It's just a question at this point of how many women turn out and how many women support Vice President Harris. I think about that in the context of Black women, Latino women, Asian American women, and Indigenous women largely voting for Democrats historically. But then I turn to white women. And this is who I think the vice president's campaign is attempting to appeal to, knowing that 47% of white women supported Trump in 2016 and 53% in 2020. And so how many white women are going to view his language of whether women like it or not as the final straw? Because let's be real, racism wasn't the final straw. His court cases from accusers of sexual assault have not been the final straw. Is this the final straw, especially now that Roe v. Wade is going to be a mobilizing factor in this election, where it appears on the ballot in 10 states, and where we have seen voters cross partisan lines and every demographic line you can think of to support protecting abortion rights? This is the question this election cycle, and this could be a determining factor.
Congressman, we heard those comments from the vice president at the top, her pitch to Gen Z voters. She was talking to students in Wisconsin. It's always a challenge for campaigns to get out the younger vote. Is her messaging focusing on freedoms, and specifically reproductive freedom, an effective way to motivate that voting bloc this time around?
I certainly think it is. And this is a hard group to break through, because as smart and educated as younger voters can be, they are relatively lower information, many of them as a demographic. And so that low information voter might be drawn to just being voting on the brand. Republican, Democrat, Independent, Donald Trump, what do I think of him? And so to hit home strong messages about democracy and personal freedoms, perhaps even student loans and an economy, an opportunity economy the vice president talks about, is great for young voters. Listen, Vice President Harris is really doing everything right now. Donald Trump is doing everything wrong. And I agree with Juanita. Fortunately, the women are going to decide this election. Black, Latino women, they're going to decide this election. And if you look at the trend line from 18 to 20 to 22, Democrats are overperforming because women are coming out and rejecting Donald Trump and Trumpism. I'd be worried if I was the former president going into next Tuesday.